I've had users that can really, I don't know if we need one. Allison said she could hear us fine.
Yeah. I know, I was.
Okay, everybody knows we're recording. Hey, Darren.
So.
Sorry, I went out about the snow.
Me too, Sharon.
We get an agenda on them. Actually, it's not TV.
No, the back of the sticky note. That's the ones. Still makes sense.
All right.
What? We're not meeting till the end of the month. So got plenty of time.
I don't.
Okay.
I don't even know.
There is stuff inside. Yeah, we can just check it.
Oh,
Because we got a.
I think she was gonna meet. I think she came to the last program. And then it's puzzles. She's talking about doing
It's the
it.
same.
That's all I can say.
Well, it's a donation.
It is. I'll take it. I'm sure the meeting, I'm supposed to understand it. Because I did.
All right, great. We're gonna call the meeting to order. It is 6. And thank you to Brave Souls. Hello to our friends.
Thank you.
Okay, so meeting minutes for 2/9. Everybody get a chance to look at them? No? All right.
Motion we accept the minutes.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, aye. Okay. You did. Great. Are you gonna do the update or is Gay? She told me she was gonna be here, but I don't see her.
Yeah, she told me she was too, but I can do it. It's fine. We were gonna do halfsies, but.
Okay, all right, and she can jump in and
Yeah.
gets here.
Yeah, so we still have great attendance, all of friends joining, which is great. Which has given a lot more ideas for programming and things we can do. So we did just recently do a snowman competition when we had the last snowstorm, which I think we had 8 entries.
Yeah.
Something like that. Yeah, that was kind of nice. And we're doing the 6-word story. We've gotten a lot of
I
entries.
was thinking of doing it.
Yeah, I would say we probably have at least a dozen already.
Awesome.
Yeah,
Awesome.
yeah, there's been quite a few, and all ranges,
Hmm.
you know, adults and teens, and, so that's gotten some really good, you know, involvement
Yeah.
and participation. So we are currently running, the Flower Power fundraiser. We haven't gotten any orders from that yet, but it just kind of launched, and we've had some other things going too, so we've just got to do a little bit more of a push for that. We don't have anything for that yet. The seats are all sorted and upstairs and ready for people to take as well. We're gonna start launching that campaign soon as well, so people can hear too. And outside of that, we have a bunch of things and ideas for the spring. Our the cleanup, and we're doing the wellness night.
That's right.
Next Friday with, we're having a therapist come in and do a lot of connect for that. So we have that coming up. I think we're looking at doing that on a regular basis. We're having more than one, with maybe more than one therapist. So if we didn't connect with one, you may connect with the other, or, you know, just for different messages and different points of view and things like that. So, considering we're talking about doing that more frequently as well. And then just a bunch of spring stuff coming. It's nothing set in stone yet, so. So yeah, that's all I've got.
All right. I guess, thank you very much. And Andrew.
Okay, so, mask mandate dropped for staff patrons learn if you want. We haven't had any issues with masking in programs so far. That impacts programs on children's and programs. We had Ditterall program that really masked up. Two mask ups, and all children's programs. So masks, except kids take them off because they're too.
Oh, sure, sure.
So that's gone fine so far. We'll have a staff meeting on March 21st. We'll have to look at the April calendar because we've got some gaps to fill in here and there. There's vacations.
Asking,
Oh, yeah.
the school's been talking about preschool this week.
Yep.
Is that correct? You know, have I inkling which way to go on?
Oh, God, I was wrong last time, so.
Oh, okay.
I would expect they're gonna drop because the cases are.
Yeah.
So,
So we,
but yeah, you mean, just to give you an idea, the kind of topsy-turvy nature, so. They were still at a level that was very high compared to all the other bubbles that we had in the virus, so. It's, now it's feeling like it's getting back to so it's looking better.
then maybe you'll want to revisit your children's part.
Yeah, and I told Tara today, she asked about tomorrow because it's new, well, it's a new program. And there are probably some parents who haven't been part of the program. So, you know, there was one parent that was voicing concern about whether it's being unmasked, so that's gonna be a thing.
Sure.
If the person's not comfortable, you may want to handle it. We will revisit.
Okay. Hi, Gabe. Welcome. We can't hear you.
Thank you. Thank you. Sorry I was late. I was trying to log on to Teams on my phone.
Well, Lisa pretty much filled us in. I don't know if you have other stuff, but she kind of filled us in on the spring programs coming up. And
Oh, good. Okay. Yeah, that was pretty much all I had.
okay. Yeah. All right.
Okay, so the staff meeting, we'll also talk about, we start staff evaluations into this month in April. On the month of April, during the month of April. Facilities, the roofing. Yes.
Is it Superior?
It looks superior. Hey, anything looks more superior than that was. But the collars placed around the ducts, they found two straight 2x4s sticking out of the roof for no reason.
That's
And that was weird.
They couldn't think of any
Well,
reason.
if the building wasn't falling down.
Well, that, I'm like, did you remove something that had structural significance? They were loose, I guess, they were just kind of there and they piled around them, for whatever reason. I don't know, but, so far so good. I mean, we've had some rain since then. We're dripping in my office. Haven't seen anything strange in the bathroom upstairs, so
Great.
cross news. One thing the friends did, they purchased a defibrillator.
You haven't come in yet.
Hasn't come in yet. I think it was gonna be a little bit, he was gonna be a little bit before it came. The style that the fire station purchased. And, it was a little over 1,000 because it includes an alarmed cabinet.
Yeah, I would say it was 12 or 13.
Right, and so, 1,000 of it's covered by the donation from Lee Martin and her family. The remainder, the friends have agreed to. So,
Yeah, we took it out of the relocation.
Thank you.
and the reason we wanted to have it alarmed, talking about it forth, is sure, you put it behind the counter, but that's not accessible to anybody. We put it upstairs, say over by all the way to the bathroom, or wherever it might be, it's not accessible. We're gonna know when somebody picks it up of the cabinet and decides to use it. So, we wanted it in the public. So, but we'll go further for that is when
And just one thing on that, I am gonna send a email to Lee Martin so that she's aware that we did finally end up purchasing the defibrillator, which when she originally made her donation back when we were doing the relocation fund, she did say that her donation was for a defibrillator, and at the time, we didn't end up moving forward with purchasing it. And she was made aware of that as well. So I'm gonna let her know that we have finally purchased it, and it will be still put under as donated by, however she wants to say it.
Yeah, so, like the plaque that's underneath the here, we'll get it through Science Plus. Once we know what Lee wants as a, dedication.
Is the alarm just when it's moved, or does the alarm also indicate that it's like it?
I think it indicates when the box has been opened, the case itself is.
Yeah, I think the intent is so that everybody understands the emergency.
Right,
Okay.
exactly.
Oh, okay.
It should.
Is it easy for a child to open?
I don't know.
It's almost like a tablet.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
The one that we have,
Well, they try to do something frustrating.
yeah,
You would hope, yeah.
the senior center one that has a green flashing light, we have to check every day.
Oh,
I was
okay.
wondering if the alarm indicated that it's, battery.
Actually, they use it.
Yeah.
That's a good. I'm gonna say.
It was an option. You didn't have to even have it.
Yeah, it probably is.
I think it's a good idea.
Yeah, it is.
Budget, let's see. 22,199.52 spent February, that's up from 321.99 in January. Over 6,000 spent on related materials again this past month, which is good. 11,484 spent in operations in total, so we are at 64.1% of the budget spent. Right, 66, so relatively. I'll go over figures a little bit more with the budget report, and too much more there. Programs, still a combination of in-house and virtual programs. I have a feeling that virtual programs are probably going to continue going forward. I think Tara would probably agree, because we have individuals from remote locations and just we developed a relationship, or Tara's developed.
Chef Rob.
Yeah, Chef Rob and so forth, that I see us doing that going forward, after all of this.
Especially. It's beautiful.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
they-
totally agree. Usually with some of the, more adult programs, they like to have it at home so they don't have to go out. And it appeals to more people so they can attend.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think like the cartoonist Rick Sternowski, I don't know about the cozy tea cart, but like I know the painting is, most of those sessions are still being done.
Yeah, they'll be Zoom. Cheryl Cohen will be Zoom.
Oh yeah, Jill Betstein was yesterday, right? And that was virtual.
And that will continue to be virtual because we actually have a far better turnout when we had it in the library. We only
yeah.
had a couple of people, but last night we had over 20.
Yeah, so they're longer program.
Sure.
So solid attendance on story times. The figures are there. Solid attendance, of course, with the virtual programs. Cooking with Chef Rob at 36 this last month in one session, which is amazing. And Monica's second conversation with the German at 8. It's really good. So, so far this month, things have been busy too. The Iditarod program had, I think, 27. As Tara said, Jill Weston had 20 last night on that call. And story times, looking out my window from my office, have always been very, very busy. So those are going well. Let's see. So I just mentioned the footnotes poll went well. We have our next 4 books for the next year. It's quarterly, obviously. The titles are just for human interest. Adult Book Club is coming up April 4th, and Hank Philippi Ryan joining them virtually.
Help me, Hank.
Yes, exactly. So that's 2 authors in the last few months.
Great.
That's great. And she'll join them that night to answer questions. And talking about the writing process, that sort of thing. We had our teen book club yesterday and had, I think it was 7 kids total, at the book club in Nipmuc. Jen and Tara and I were over there, and so I'm also there. Yeah, we got another book picked out for April 26th. We clearly want to do month to month, which is great. That's programming. Projects. Reading the oversized collection, they're probably about 3/4 of the way through it. Once they've weeded through it, we've actually deleted a lot from that collection. I don't think it just since we have moved the collection here. And even before we moved the collection, I don't think it had gone through. So there was clearly like collectibles books and very old pricing. So a lot of that has come out. That's right. What's going to happen is we'll take the large print that is in the regular sets of shelves here, and that large print will move to the back shelf along with the oversized. We've probably eliminated of what's been gone through easily over half of it. But that'll free up space then for adult fiction, which should always be more space. It should be it's a little more manageable. Let's see. Tara purchased a hanging bag rack, and Annie and Monica put it together. It's actually just as you come in, just to the right as you come up the steps. And we moved all the hanging bag audio collection there so that we could expand Playaway because that's outgrowing its space. And also the staff weeded audio on CD. I'm trying to condense and not do as much audio on CD anymore because at some point I just don't know that it's.
The way they track.
Yeah, so I'm hedging my bets on Playaway and just e-audio. We still get some for adult, but I'm not ordering any more for the kids. I just don't think it's worth it. So, let's see. Here. So they're also weeding picture books upstairs that needed to be done. Weeding children's DVDs. I think, is that project done, the children's DVDs, Tara?
No, I've only done half of one of the draws. The other one will be done
Oh, okay. All right. So
within
it's
the
like
next
halfway.
few.
Okay. Yeah, I've had plenty there too. So, and then hopefully crossing fingers, magazine deliveries has been solved.
Yay.
You know, the two traipsing around the lake before. But that's projects. Town news. I mentioned the contract. Did everybody get a copy? We can go over that. Yes. Let's see, so I won't go into that too much. Facilitator, we're going to talk about.
Yes, I'd like to talk about that while Sean's still here.
Okay.
He's got about 3 minutes.
Oh, all right. So anyway, the CMLE users council meeting, those are all coming up. We're going to all of them virtually or in person. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, as far as the budget goes, there's not a lot unless anybody has any questions about the budget. There we go.
All right, so that's part of the strategic plan. And you can take it away.
Okay, so I reached out to Jim Bro a couple of times. I did not hear back from him. I checked my junk email because I remember one time he responded and the junk email was in the junk email. I hadn't seen it. So it's been radio silence. And my feeling on this is, as much as I really appreciate his stepping forward to do it, it sounded.
Yeah,
Just
I have
based on-
feedback that
Yeah.
he's traveling a lot for work right now.
And it's probably, I just don't think it's gonna be feasible.
Yeah.
That said, there are facilitators that have been mentioned in email threads numerous times that are really solid facilitators who worked with library projects before. They cost, but I would feel much better having obviously somebody, but then also somebody who can really help guide us through the process, guide me through the process, because we haven't done this. So, it's really-
Yeah, so, I think that we'd be well served to maybe use state aid money to pay for a facilitator who has experience with it, what exactly we're gonna do, instead of us kind of stumbling through and certainly the attendants are not gonna know what to do. So, I think we just need to put to a vote that we would spend state aid, authorize Andrews to use state aid to pay for a facilitator, and he can start a search.
We have everybody for the planning committee
Yeah,
in place. So it would be a good idea for us to.
yeah, and, I'm also of the opinion that he can use his best judgment to hire. I don't think he needs to come back to us and ask permission.
I'll make a motion that Andrew, who's his best judgment, the moderator for this. strategic plan.
Give a second.
Second.
Right, all in favor? Aye. Yeah,
So, and the hiring in terms of costs, is there anything we need to get back to you on?
I mean, you can tell us,
And do you have a?
but we have state aid money.
Just you.
Yeah.
In terms of.
I mean, I would get a couple of recommendations maybe.
Yeah.
Now, is this a pool that you draw from? I mean, is it?
Well, the back and forth that I've seen at least 3 to 5 facilitators mentioned repeatedly. And really good. My recommendation for me. Those are the ones. Zoning on first.
I think it's money once.
Agreed. Yeah, I mean, we certainly don't use that money frivolously, so this is a good use of it.
Excellent. Thank you.
Great. So that's really it for strategic planning. We'll wait for.
I
you
think
to
so,
follow
yeah,
up
I
with
mean,
that.
the next step is to reach out. Yeah.
Great. Well, I have, some things not previous to the 48 hours. 2 things. One, tonight, I noticed on the select board agenda that a resident is asking them to consider renaming the old library because everybody keeps calling it the old.
Right.
So, it's a little too late to give our recommendation, but if they don't vote on it tonight, we could, as a group, send a letter either supporting what she's recommending it be called the Lawn and Rose.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Building, or whatever.
Yeah.
Personally, I think it's perfect.
Right.
We've got a big plaque for her in the building already, right?
Yeah. Absolutely.
So I just wanted to get everybody's feedback on whether they thought that was a good idea. And,
She was an institution.
yeah,
Decades.
yeah. So if you guys are in favor of me, I can write a letter of support at, with you guys as, permission.
I'm sorry.
That's interest.
I missed.
Oh, sorry.
who-
Go ahead, Sharon.
I missed who was she asking that we name the library for?
Lawn and Rose.
Oh, okay. And this would be the old library? No. we
Yes,
don't-
the old library, because people keep calling it the old library, or some people call it the annex. It should really have a name.
Okay, got it.
So it's going in front of the select board tonight. I'll have to watch the meeting.
The Lone Rose building or?
I don't know if it won't be called library anymore. So I don't know if they'll use her first name or if they'll just say it's the Rhodes Building. I don't know exactly. And they're speaking about it tonight, so.
Is that what they're proposing tonight, the Lawn Rose?
That's what, the resident suggested, but she wanted to start a discussion. So if they had somebody else that they want to take that, just I think that's probably perfect. But they may go in a different direction because whoever donated the building to the town at the time, which is why it's memory, I think. So that was one thing, and the other thing.
Ellen,
was-
really quick on that. That's interesting that's happening so quickly because that resident just asked me, she ran into me somewhere in our neighborhood and asked me
Yes.
if anyone was doing that. And I said, not that I'm aware of, but I'm sure people would be willing to look into it. And I said I would bring it up at the meeting and at our next meeting and see if anybody has been doing it. So it's interesting that it got on the select board's agenda so quickly.
Yeah, I think she emailed them,
Yeah,
which is great.
yeah.
Really, ultimately, they have control over what we name the buildings, I think, so. And the other thing was, I also took the initiative to revisit our neighbor to the north, without naming names. And it just doesn't sit right with me that the answer we got wasn't thorough. And so I had Andrew take some pictures today. I formulated an email and I sent it off to the select board chair, asking to be heard at a meeting. Because we still shouldn't have to spend money for somebody who's breaking our bylaws. So we can hide that, you know. I'm not against, even if we decide later on that maybe we do want to put up trees or something, but why should we spend money when the person's not following the bylaws?
We're talking.
Yes, somebody north of us. And
They're not even the homeowners.
that's for the homeowners, the homeowner passed away and it's in a trust. And those people do not live there. And also I wanted to consider, I don't have to decide tonight, but would like to consider maybe using state aid, depending on what the select board says, to get the land survey, to see if those junk piles are on. Because if they are on, at least we could get those moved. They seem pretty close.
Yeah.
Right up to the tree trunks.
Right at the very beginning, I mean, isn't there a bylaw, I mean, to be dealt with about the number of unregistered cars?
That's the one we're talking about.
And there are clearly two, and I could not.
Oh, I.
There's clearly two that don't have
Yeah,
plates.
there's two others. Oh.
And the bylaw says, the bylaw says
I think
vehicles.
Okay, and if it's vehicles.
The vote counts, in my opinion. Maybe that's not what they meant, but I vote.
But there's definitely two cars.
Yeah, well, there's two without plates.
Just from what I see.
And there's one that's been up on blocks, even if it is registered. It's been up on blocks for a long time.
The question is, does the homeowner own those? Or do the tenants?
I believe it's the tenant's stuff. And one of the homeowners lives in California. The
The dog,
daughter, the son, I don't know what it is.
he's close. He's either, no.
Yeah, so he's in Mass, but he doesn't live here. And the zoning inspector didn't come up and look this up. She called. And he said, there's only one registered. And we know that that's not true.
Why wouldn't they come up? I mean,
I don't know. So I moved it, I've kicked it up a notch. Thank you, Sean.
Okay.
bye-bye.
I've kicked it up to the next board who can make some decisions for us.
I mean, even going beyond that, I mean, that's number one. Number two is all the other
Stuff.
piles, I guess. I mean, I look at every time I go by, I mean, I picked her up in the van and when I would drive in there, I would question how they got away with this. I mean, this is not overnight.
There is no blight bylaw, unfortunately. So a blight bylaw would take care of junk that are. But we don't have a blight bylaw, but we do have the unregistered vehicle bylaw. So that's the approach I'm taking, is that not following that. It's okay to have unregistered vehicles if they're in garages. They can't be out in the yard. And so I haven't heard back. I don't know if the select board will take a different approach and go back to the zoning enforcer and force them to enforce. Or if it gets a little more public.
Is this something that should go before town council or I mean, is that a step? I mean.
We have
I
a zoning
don't wanna
enforcer.
go
We pay a zoning enforcer to enforce these things.
there. Okay.
So that's where it really lies. We just have to get there. So, but I mean, and I really appreciate that. Yeah, maybe we do want trees someday, but let it be on our terms. And if we do have to spend our state aid money to get it surveyed, to put that to a vote at some future date, but
Do you think some of it is that close to the line?
There's a pile touching our trees,
Yeah, there's a pile right up to 7 tree trunks.
tree trunks.
I don't know if those trees are ours or theirs.
I mean, they're this far from the driveway. And I believe there's a setback on the driveways. So I don't know if things that there was special permits, it's within. I don't know. But either way, I did take the liberty of sending that email and to get a response. And I'll put it on next time's agenda if anything comes of it. I just want to let that know.
Well, I'm in favor of letting you use your judgment. I mean, if something needs to be done. 12.
Yeah, well, if we have to go to a select board meeting, I asked for March 3rd because they have budget meetings right now and I don't want to jump in on one of those meetings, but those are ending. And so then March 30th is the first one where they're not talking about budget. So I thought that might be the best one. Now that gives them time to rectify it beforehand. Right? That's all. That's stuff. This contract, so let's talk about that.
Okay, so, I talked to the town administrator, and I gave her, well, that is, there.
And it's just the same thing.
It's not, I really shouldn't do that.
Well, my splits do that, like it to regulate, because it brought the temperature too warm. Yeah, my splits do that too.
So I had given her a spreadsheet where I had narrowed it down to all communities, 5,000, 10,000 population. There's 60, 68 now, 66 under here.
Oh, no, 63,
Oh, 63.
63, 50. It's all right. It's close enough.
Yeah, I mean, so basically I narrowed it down for her to see, here's what the range is. And, based on population, the one thing that the spreadsheet doesn't do is it doesn't take into consideration, it doesn't talk about this little section for how long it's been in terms of what their salary is. Maybe there's somebody who's been there for 2 years, somewhere else somebody's been there for 15. So that made it a
I
little.
find that true in a lot of salary studies, but they don't really take it into account because you're all doing like the same job.
Right.
So whether you've been there 1 year, you still have to do that same job. So I don't think they actually take in, that's what.
Right. So when I looked at it and when she looked at it, I basically I said, I don't think this needs a lot right side. So but it did need some. And so I said, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put down the percentage for the first year in order to right size this, and then going forward, we'll just be the 2% for the COLA with the advisor that if it should go above 2% for the second year, then I have the right to come back. If it's fine.
Yeah, so then I think that's good.
Yeah, so what I looked at was, and then what I did was I looked at the average for salary rates. And for FY23, standard increase of 35%. Good raise, they said is like 4%. So this is a 5% raise in the first year. So it's a modest right sizing. What I'll say about it is if I said to them 5 and then essentially a 4% increase doesn't come up to the level of the contract that I first gave them first case.
Right,
That's including the bonus.
right,
So it didn't make sense to me looking at that.
right.
It made sense for let's go with 5% and see it. Does anybody have questions about the figure? That didn't include longevity, so on that, the contract itself, the figures that are there are the 5% increase and 2% and 2%. Does not include longevity. So,
Now, on the contracts that you compared it to,
yeah,
you said a good increase is 4 to 7. Do you have anything to, like, in the future years, were they also 4 to 7? Or did they drop to the 2% too?
oh, that isn't, you know, I mean, I look, this was a separate. Would be nice.
But you have that caveat that if the town gets 3% for some reason, he can ask for it. This is gonna put that in there.
All right.
Which is what was part of the last one. Everything else is outside of the date change on the contract itself is the same. There's no difference.
And after, when we review in 3 years, we can look at the salary study again to make sure you're still in line, you
Right.
know, and if you're not, absolutely.
Well, I think, you know, to be fair, what she had said at the time was, you know, because I put a bonus structure in there, she said, well, that's not. It's kind of a band-aid.
Sure.
You know, whereas if you actually put the percentage in each year, then we need to do a bonus band-aid.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
And your raises are gonna be based on that much higher salary.
Exactly. I mean, some towns have a step scale, so we know at this point. But not having that, you know, you're just.
Okay,
How do you compare geographically to area towns?
You mean the salary? Oh,
Yes.
It's right in
Right in
the,
the
house, yeah, within 5,000. You know, a couple people have been, up in directors have mentioned. This is.
Mhm.
Then you have to look at, well, what is it for me? 16. Yeah. So,
time flies.
okay, so in any event, was there any question on the language? Did that seem straightforward?
Seems fine to me. And if you're happy with it, that's good.
I was just going to ask you that. Are you happy?
Yeah, I'm absolutely fine. Yeah, I mean, and we'll see what they come back with. But, if, like as I said, if it was a 4 that doesn't even come up for like the first passing. So, yeah, I think it's. Otherwise, fine. I don't think we can vote on.
Oh, I don't think, well, we could vote on you proceeding as is if they don't make any changes, right?
Right, and I didn't know, since I made copies of it, sign, and then obviously we have to make.
Yeah, we could do that. We could do a, sign now.
Yeah.
And all let's see,
Trustee chair.
we haven't, just me?
Yeah.
That's good.
So I'll have you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, sounds good. That's all I have for that.
All right, so we can set our next meeting then, right? I'm looking at, I think, April 13th. Is that still vacation week? Okay. Right, so April 13th, that's,
It will be the next.
and okay.
Make a motion.
All right. Sharon, I am going to send you an email. I was gonna accost you while you were here, but I don't want to. So I'm gonna send you an email.
Okay,
All right, so be looking
I'll
for it.
look for it.
All right, thank you, everyone.
Have a
Thank
good night.
you. Bye.
Bye.
I think
Bye, thank you.